You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherland's calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa. So happy people and happy Africa family. Welcome. Yes. I hope all of us out there on the continent, in Europe, in UK, in the diaspora. When I talk about the diaspora, I'm talking about the Americas, the Caribbean, the Brazil, the Haiti, the Mexico, the Asian countries, Middle East, and everywhere that all Africans worldwide are tuning in to watch this exclusive show tonight. I want to welcome all of you for signing in. I mean, you know, you can watch us on our Facebook page. You can watch us on Susan Tata's page. You can watch us on Dr. Susan Tata Official. You can watch us even on our TikTok. And I think we have Starmore and NYASHA who is here, and all the others have all connected to their social media platforms. So we have a broader outreach today because for the first time, we are hosting an exclusive show made of all the generations. I mean, we know we have the old generation, which is me, the host. Then we have the middle generation, which is the generation of NYASHA. And then we have the future generation, which is already here with us. And you can see Princess Starmore sitting comfortable in the studio live all the way from USA. She's going to be telling us whether she's watching from New York, from Brooklyn, from California, or from wherever she's sitting right there. But we also expecting to have two other voices from the continent, and one is going to be joining us from Malawi. Mr. Benda is also in the generation of NYASHA, and then our princess sister NHOGO Solo is also joining us today live from the studio in Johannesburg, South Africa. As we all know, technique is always not favorable on our side. So we have the ones in the diaspora already seated, but the ones in the continent are still struggling, either because of blackout out there, no power, or secondly, because, you know, their cameras actually are not responding. But they've been here and they're in the black room. And anytime that we will have access, we'll be having them on the show. Today, we want to do something really exclusive. I mean, we know that Africans, particularly the young ones, are doing a lot. They're getting more awoke, they're getting more involved in the development of the Black culture in African itself, but also they're also doing a lot of activism. And today, like we see what NYASHA has been doing, and now we also see Starmore. Starmore is not just only an entrepreneur at the age of 8 years old, but she is also a very, very active advocate for her, you know, for consciousness. Like she's doing her programs on Kids Teach Kids. She's going to be telling us how she came up to that activism and then move into her brand with a hand sanitizer. So we have a lot to learn today. NYASHA is also representing the younger generation. What we want to do today is to follow up the conversation on the family picture and the structure which we have in Senegal, representing the statue of Renaissance. And this statue of Renaissance represents 3 generations: the father, the mother, and the children. It's a whole family picture. I mean, we had a whole lot of sessions we did with Dr. Leonard Jeffries and also Professor James Moore, and all of us know that statue of Renaissance. Now we want to dig deep into it. What does each position on this status quo represent in building the Africa we want in Africans worldwide? And also, how does it support the relationship between the past, we're talking about our elders, and the present and the future, and all these choices all represent here. So thank all of you for joining this program. Be on for 2 hours. We're going to open up and take some questions, but also we're going to be seeing a short video from Starmore and her projects and her hand sanitizer. And but she really tell more about that. So I hope we are all ready. If you're ready, we're ready right here from the studio. And so we can go right into the show. And I want to start with the future, which is right here. Starmore, how are you?
Yes, I'm great. How about you?
I am also great. You know, when you come here, we have to be great. Sweetheart, where do you get your energy? Where you
Well, I mean, I guess I was just born this way. I'm a very happy person, and I believe that I have to share that with the world. So I'm happy to share my gift with other people. So I'm just a natural born happy person, I guess. I have a lot of energy.
I mean, today we cannot wait than to explore. Naisha, just tell me who you have on the show there with you, how you see her. I mean, just a little bit of what is going on in the future.
I'm getting really affected here. I'm also very happy when I see. Oh, I feel very honored and privileged to be in your presence, Black Royalty. Can I call you that name?
Oh, yes, of
Oh,
course. Oh my God.
Princess. It is an honor and privilege to be here, and I would really love to hear more about your hand sanitizer.
Oh,
This
thank you.
is
Okay, that would be great. Actually, I will tell you about it. Okay. So, I'm a young entrepreneur, and I sell hand sanitizers, and they're all natural and they're organic, and they contain
oh
50% tea tree oil. Yes, and a lot of people may think that tea tree oil is just, an essential oil or a smell good, but it is also a cleanser. Yes, and it also contains 50% lemons. Yes, all that good lemons in there. Because lemon is a very good cleanser, to evaporate all the bad germs. And
mm.
it's multi-purpose, so you can use it for the air, and it moisturizes your hands. So, it's kind of like a 4-in-1 there.
What? I can put my hair?
Oh, no, 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 your hands. Sorry. It
Your
moisturizes your
hands.
hands. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's.
Yes.
Oh, I like that. And how much is one bottle? And how much is in it?
One bottle is $5. Yes.
And I can get it on Amazon, isn't it?
Amazon, no, but I have a website called loopersloafers.com. And actually, so you know what you're getting into, this is actually what it looks like. Oh, can
Oh,
you see it?
thank
Oh,
you. Can you?
oh,
Oh, thank you.
there we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. So if you'd like to order one, this is what it looks like in person.
Thank you. Oh, I hope everyone can see it. Thank you.
Yes,
Do we
of
have
course.
other
And
product? Do
other
you have?
products? No, not at the
Mhm.
moment. I'm still working on that. Just hand sanitizers. Yes, but if you
Oh,
would like to support me, my website is loopersloafers.com, spelled LOOPPERSLOAFERS.com. And my cash app is $child homeschool number 8. So if you'd like to support me, all the options are there for you. Thank you very much, too, if you do choose to support me.
my pleasure. My pleasure. Mama Tata, I want one.
Great! Great!
Yes, of course, I think every person needs one, but the problem, like,
Oh,
do you when somebody buys your hand sanitizer, a star, so they go to your website, they order it, and you like Naisha is sitting here in Europe. Do you ship it, or how does she get it?
Yes,
yes.
I do ship. So when a person orders my product off of my website, we do have a 1-day shipping where I just ship it to you, package it up in the mail, really nice, and we give you a business card in the package. So it's nice and packaged, and we ship it to the person. Yes, and all the info will be there on the website. Your all that stuff. Yes, credit card info, your address, all that type of stuff. It's on the website, but we do ship it to you. Yes.
Hmm.
Okay, do you have like
Okay.
a minimum quantity? Because like I can guess if one and then you have to ship to Europe, that would not be very, so you have like, do you have like a quantity where you say minimum, let's say 50 or 1,000 pieces and then you ship? in Europe?
Yes, we can ship it to you. We can ship it to you in bundles. We don't have a minimum. You can just do however, much that you like. And yes, so we do ship it to you in bundles though. Yes, if you'd like. That'd be great.
Okay, Nisha.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh,
All
yes.
right.
I was just making some
I think
notes. Okay, yes.
while we're waiting on the others, we would have to start the program. I know we're starting a little bit early, but we want to talk about the situation, like voices around. What is it that the generation is looking at when we look at the Africa we want? I'll start with you, Naisha.
Yes, I think that what we as generation want and need, is I think honesty of our elder generation. Because I think it's not really about the money or to leave us with money, but I wish my parents or my elder generation have given me knowledge about their past, about their experience. You know, honesty. And I think that when I look at my generation, our generation, I think honesty was one that was missing a lot. What they went through, their opinion, and how they saw their life and their experience. You know, the other generation seems to me to be a very quiet generation. They tend somehow not to talk about certain things. They value privacy very much, and I have wished more open conversation about certain things in all areas of life. Absolutely, yes.
For
I hope I
instance,
make some sense.
you make a lot of sense. Like you can give some
For
examples if it's.
instance, for instance, for instance, about like my mother, like her experience as a mother, or like my father, his experience as a young man or young boy. How would he experience life in his environment? How was it like to grow up as a Zimbabwean man in Zimbabwe in the apartheid regime? How was it as a Zimbabwean woman going to a missionary school? Those are stories our generation never talked about. They never have those deep conversations. And I really wish for us as young people, what I would wish myself was more deep conversation, so I can make sense of what I am saying exactly.
All right. So, like, you miss a lot in the past from the elders. So, there was not a kind of relationship where the elders would tell us their situation or even their traumas or even their battles that they were fighting. They won't pass it over. Do you think that it was kind of
Exactly.
protecting the children?
I think so. I think also, yes, it's protecting the children, but I also think that it was also protect themselves. You are always in the mode of survival, paying the bills, feeding the children. So you have no time of really, sit down and have those ideas of the past. It's always about, right now, how can I feed my child? How can I do this? Because we live in a society that force us to be in a survival mode. So I think that we had no time of this luxury. But what I have wished, I think a lot of young people, was honesty. Honesty, really, how they are feeling, honesty of their experience, honesty also sometimes to say, I don't know. As a parent, you can also say, I don't know. It is not an
Yeah.
embarrassment, it is not something bad, because you are human too. But
Yes, Naisha.
I feel
Naisha,
that
you
there
hearing
are
me? Mhm.
acting. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. There was
Acting
an
as
interruption
if,
there.
behaving as if. Okay.
Okay. So you think that the disunity between the family unit, there actually was not enough honesty from the elder generation, and they also had their own challenges that they were going through. So the communication actually is not flowing between the elder generation and the younger one, right?
Yes, I think because parents, what the elders, are in a position of survival, and I think the problem is, I think elders. I'm also an elder in certain sense. We reproduce the next generation. So if we are
Mhm.
not happy what we are seeing, that's what we produced. And the question is, what I hear elders say, who raised those generation? Yes, that is the problem. You never raised us. You gave us food and money and water, but you never really raised us. I'm not blaming anyone. It is the circumstances we are all in. And I think that we need to, like, I was shocked, when this COVID situation started. And
Mhm.
parents were bothered having their children at home. I hope, Mama, you saw it on television. Parents were stressed to have their children at home. Say, go back to kindergarten. So we see we are not even used to have children at home with us anymore because we are always trying to be outside, outside. So I
Mhm.
think it has a lot of the system we are living in to do, the patriarchy system we are living in, that they values house as a work in the home, domestic in the home, in a system we are living in is devalued. So even a lot of women don't feel confident, being a housewife or a housewoman because of the historical advantages that have been used on women to be in those spaces, and also to have no value, in the home. Because
Mhm.
the only thing that is valued is when you go outside, you work somewhere outside. Now you are putting something in a market space. Now you are
Mhm.
valued because men are outside. Now you are valued. But when you are home, you're just a housewife. You're just a housewife. So who cares about that? So I think a lot of women, also myself, have a little bit of that also in them. That's what I think.
Thank you very much, Naisha.
What
I
has
mean, for
happened
those
over
that are joining us,
generation.
yeah. For those that are joining us, I want us to welcome Nongo Solo, who is joining from South Africa. Nongo, you're welcome to the show. We're very sorry if you had some technical delays out there, but we're talking about the family unit. What is it that disconnect the elder generation, the younger generation, and the future generation? And so I am here, for instance, in the elderly generation, and you are in the middle generation, and Starmore is representing the future. We want to see why the relationships, or how we can better these relationships from this three-generation point of view. So Naisha was just talking about that disconnection in terms of, no communication that is in, and then the indoor space and the outdoor space, which actually disconnect us from the elders, and also that my generation was not honest enough, to give the situation that they're living in, because I was fighting survival just to feed them, to send them to school and stuff like that. So that is the level of our conversation this afternoon. Joining us on this panel, you have Stamo. She is in the US, born and raised, African descendants in the USA. And Naisha is a migrant student, researcher here in Germany with me, and she's my PA or assisting us in the Pan African Daily. And then, so for all those that are coming in and that might have missed this conversation, so we started up, and Naisha gave her point of view. I'm going to go to the future to Star More. Star More, when I read your biography, or I spoke to your very influential mom, I want to congratulate her and give her a shout out there. And she told me, I wanted to find out from her how you got into being what you are at this early age, at 8 years. And she told me something that probably I think you would have to explain to us what is it that actually got you into activism so young and at this age, Stamo?
Well, for one, I took a look at my surroundings and I seen that a lot of people may have needed my help. Now, other people, some people, they can take care of themselves, but it always is good, to just lend a helping hand to somebody who may need help. And sometimes our people do need a little bit of help. So I decided to take a step forward and I'll be the person, the bigger person that will help my community out during hard times, during, with the coronavirus and basically, everything that's been going on. So I said, how could I take that and make everyone smile? So I took a look and I said, you know what? I'm going to create a product that is already needed, a lot. So I decided to make my own hand sanitizer because they have been saying that everybody needs to wear a mask and social distance and hand sanitize. So I decided to make my own hand sanitizers because sometimes all the other hand sanitizers are out there that are really dangerous and they have methyl and harmful chemicals in them, and my product has none of those things in them. It actually contains 50% tea tree oil and it's all lemon based, as I may have said before, just to reiterate it. So I really wanted to make sure that I keep my community safe and keep them safe with, really active ingredients, that actually keep them safe, because methyl is not going to keep your hands clean, but tea tree and lemon, it's a higher chance of keeping your hands clean. So that's how I basically took a step forward and got into this whole entrepreneurship. Yes.
Beautiful. Apart from the entrepreneurship Star, you did the kids teach kids. It's not about the hand sanitizer. It must have been about something else. Why did you come up with the idea of kids teach kids, and you're giving out these lessons? Why?
Because I know that a lot of people have called me bright, and I wanted to make sure that the whole entire generation, the whole future generation, is as bright just as I am. And sometimes that the future generation, may have been a little bit dumbed down because of the public school systems and a bunch of all that unhealthy stuff. So I decided that it may be easier to learn from somebody that's on your level. So hey, I mean, an adult teaching a kid, they're going to learn something, but I think it would be a little bit better, or not better, but more complex, that if a child is actually teaching a child, because it's like they're having a friend and not actually having a teacher. And I mainly wanted to focus it on my community, so that's why I made it African centered. So yes, to answer your question.
Beautiful. I also had a gist. I mean, this is a private conversation I had with your loving mom, and she told me that one thing that actually may be, and what she thinks is that each time as you're growing up, most of the activities were only centered for adults. Like if you want to do something, and she will always be telling, oh no, you don't have to learn this because it's for adults. And you started questioning, but when are we going to have something for kids, for kids? Am I right?
Yes, you are right. Actually, I do remember when I was little, I always used to say, when I'm older, I'm going to make something just for kids and no adults are allowed. But, instead, and I didn't wait till I was older, I waited till I was young. So, I'm still young. And where? Oh, okay, we're back. Okay. But instead of, waiting till I was older, I decided that I was going to do it now. And I say, what can we do that are just for children? You know what? I'm going to make a program called Kids Teaching Kids. No adults, just kids, just kids. So I really, I was big on that when I was like 6. I think I was 6, just not too long ago. And I still am on that. So I'm really happy that I did that, and just kind of mainly focused on kids. So yes, you are correct. I did do that when I was very, very, very tiny.
You're still very tiny anyway, but in a tiny big brain. In a tiny big brain. Star, one
Yes.
more question before I go to NHOGO. I will still come back to you. I mean, like when I logged into your homepage, it was so appealing, and it has a formula that you can log in and you have a 45 minutes teaching from Starmore. So if I log in now, for instance, I'm not a kid. Let's just say kid, because it's kids teach kids. What is it that you teach them in this 45 minutes? What is it they teach your peers?
Okay, so I'm glad that you asked that. So what we teach, it's the regular, math, science, all that type of stuff. But the only thing that makes our program unique is that you really truly get results, and your child doesn't even feel like they're learning. It feels like that they're just having fun and they're just playing a game. But you actually get results, and they learn highly advanced material than what they think they're learning. So we might say something as easy as like 1, 2, 3, or something like that, and it's on a whole different level, and they don't even know it. But by the time they're like 20 or 18, or maybe just 2 years from then, they're gonna be a genius. So I like to always, and I hate to toot my own horn, but I am saying that my program truly gets results. That is my point. That's what I'm trying to say. Yes.
All right. I'll come back to you. Why you did the hand sanitizer, not just for kids, but you did it for a whole community, trying to connect the past, the present, and your future. I'll come back to you. But let us just visit South Africa, where NHOGO Solo is sitting there. I mean, I think she's also like, who is this speaking here with such accent? Because she's also focused on education, teaching the young people. And I think you guys will really make a good combination, out there in the programs, what she is looking out. So NHOGO, welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doctor. I'm actually touched. This is my second time I see the young lady or the child. She spoke celebrating King Joshua Maponga, and I was actually touched by everything that she's already doing. It gives us hope as young people. It gives us energy that in everything that we are going through, not just as South Africa, but as Africa at large, including the diaspora, we have a future to look up to. And today, upon the advice I got, I brought what we call the things that my mentor has always challenged me to produce as a young person. But before that, before we go deep into things, because I just joined the show, and my apologies for all the technical issues that we had, I think it's important for me to quote a philosopher called Tony Evans, who actually speaks about a very rhyming story. I think the child will relate. It's called Humpty Dumpty. And it says Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty was struggling, and Humpty Dumpty couldn't make it. But Humpty Dumpty, all the king horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty together again. And you ask yourself a question. Humpty Dumpty sitting in a particular place, asking for help. Did Humpty go to his family or her family? Did Humpty Dumpty go to his or her society? Or did Humpty Dumpty go to what the Europeans will call a White House? And the scenario will tell you that for a fact that the fact that all the king horses on all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty together again, then it tells you that Humpty Dumpty actually went to call for bigger bosses, the power sources, the power space. Humpty Dumpty went to the White House. And how do you know this? The fact that the king's horses were involved and the king's servants were involved, it means the king himself was involved to ensure that Humpty Dumpty is back together again. But where is the tragedy in this analogy? Is that even after the power sources, the king's horses and the king's servants, even after they called the Congress to put Humpty Dumpty together again, they couldn't. And who is Humpty Dumpty in this analogy? That is an African who goes back and wants to African solution from the queens in Britain, from the people, the powers, the power sources in Europe, the power sources in the East. And no matter how they try, because they don't have the Africa at heart, they cannot put Africa together again. And this is only the to Africans to say, as Africans, we should unite back together and say, and maybe even accommodate Africans, accommodate Christians in this space. To say even when war took place in Joshua chapter 5 in the Bible, Joshua had to confront the person whom we call in the Bible he says that, so Joshua was fighting against another nation, and he was asking, are you for us or are you against us? And he had to respond, and he said, the captain of the ship, I'm neither for you nor for them, but I'm here to take over. And this is the response that Africans must give to the kings and the queens and the East, the Westerns and the Northerns that try to rule the Southerns, the Africa that we have. To say, as Africans, we have enough resources, we have enough mindsets, we have enough children, this kind of mindset, that have the entrepreneurship skills, the entrepreneurship mindset, the consciousness level. To say, as Africa, we are neither for you as America, nor for you as Europeans, not for you as Chinese, but we are here to take over. And that kind of mindset is not to undermine neither of you, but to remind you that we are for and for those who advocate for African identity.
Ashe. This is a deeper conversation, and a very, very strategic one. I can see Benda, you are joined. Yes, your camera should be very good and your light is good. Are you okay, Benda? You're joining from Malawi.
I'm fine, thanks. And you?
Thank you so much. I know you've been struggling, but you're right here. You're not really late. You're just on time, on the African time. So we're having this conversation about the generation, the interconnection between us and the unity. So yes, you're just joining us. I think you will have to take a little bit of rest, and then you listen to all the other speakers. I'll go back to Star, who is our youngest child. And I want to thank you, Nongo, for that. Humpty Dumpty. We have always been made to look at Humpty Dumpties, that for sure. But then it is time for say we are not for you in the East or North. We are just for us in the South, and we're taking over. That is the voice of the younger generation that we're talking about. All right, but we're connecting the past, the present, and the future. And we want to know what is it that keeps us disunited. And we were talking to Starmore, who is a social entrepreneur in her age, 8 years, and she's coming out with a product that says, talking about unity is not just a word. We need a product. When you see that product, it means unity. And she came out with her hand sanitizer to say, we are washing off away the past. If we had some past diseases in our relationship. So actually, the vision behind her hand sanitizer is not just to keep your hands safe, but she is also coming up with this vision to say the past, we have to disinfect it. So whether our relationships in the past with people that never had us in the heart, we have to disinfect it, and we move forward to the future. Starmore, you've listened to NYASHA, you've listened to Nongo.
Yes.
What do you make about this ideology? Because one of your products, you made it for Malcolm X. Can you just tell us why you designed that particular one for Malcolm X?
Yes, of course. So yes, of course. So the reason why I named one of my product scents Malcolm X Active is because whenever you spray it, I want you to be reminded of Malcolm X and that his mission is 100% definitely still active. Yes, I want to make that very clear in my community.
We saw on your, I mean, you just went viral. You're still going viral, and we had to see even a super celebrity star, our brother Spike Lee,
Yes.
actually endorsed you and signed you. How did you get to that level?
So please repeat your question one more time. How did I get to what level exactly?
I mean, Spike Lee supported your hand sanitizer and
Yes,
your activism for your community. Did
yes.
he just pick you out, or he was really impressed about what you were doing and said, this has to go viral?
Wow. So honestly, I just think my ancestors just must lined me up with Spike Lee, and then I magically met him because it was so funny. It's like he said hi to me, so I felt very honored of that. I was like, wow, he said hi to me. This is an honor, and I turned around and I'm like, it's Spike Lee. So to answer your question, I truly do think that my ancestors have blessed me for doing such a great job with my hand sanitizers and trying to protect my community. So they have just blessed me with this great opportunity of meeting Spike Lee. Yes.
Beautiful. Why didn't you make this hand sanitizer just for your age group? Why did you think that is for the entire community? It means connecting the generations of your elders, even your ancestors, and also your future generation.
Yes. So I how should I say this? Let's see here. Well, I definitely truly think that everybody, does need my hand sanitizer because yes, I'm definitely trying to, protect all of my community members, and the children do need, to protect the adults, and the adults need to protect the children. So, my hand sanitizer comes kind of creeps in through the line in that particular matter. Yes, thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you so much. I think Benda was kicked out of the show. I want to go back to Naisha. Naisha, when you see the connection between the generation and you listen to what Nango was saying, how do you see the future?
Um, I love what Sister Nongo, of course, said. And I see the future very bright. And of course, what she said of coming together. And of course, I support of, coming together and have an honest conversation. But I also think we also have to talk about, about how we can come together and how we can deal with those different traumas we have, you know, as people and to unite. Because one thing what we should not do is come together and start abusing each other again.
Mhm.
So I do believe in a counseling of men, counseling of women, also on children, but not in a divisive way.
Mhm.
In a way of doing that counseling and then helping us to come together. And also what I also think is that to be honest with ourselves, what we feel or what we really want, and what honesty will cost all of us.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Naisha. Nongo, do you, when you look at particularly the situation in South Africa, where you are in that generation that started even the revolution with the school systems and the imposing of even a foreign language in your school system, are you bitter with the past? Are you bitter with the leadership? Are you bitter with the elders? Are you bitter with the leadership of the continent? And if you're bitter, what is it that really makes you bitter? What do you think we can make it better to unite this past and the present? NHOGO?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity yet again. I want to engage your question at a level. And the question says, are you better with the past? And I'm holding a stick with me right now. Please excuse the fact that it doesn't look as tidy as this one. But I'm deliberate to actually use this one, the one that I personally made, over and above the one that I actually bought. But this is the mind of an African. And these are the three spaces that we engage in as Africans, because Africans understand time over and above any other place you can speak of, because we connect with the cosmology, we connect with astrology, we connect any level. And when you ask me if I'm better with the past, then you're taking me to this area. If I'm better with the past at a place where I am now in the present, and if my past and the present can ever connect me with the future. And those are the three spaces of the time that I want to introduce on my thinking tool this evening. That my thinking tool consists of three spaces that represent time, which is the past, the present, and the future. My thinking tool represents four dynamics, and you will see the four cycles. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, that at this point, maybe we'll engage later about them, but they represent the educational spaces and the other four dimensions that I'll speak about later. But to respond to your question directly, am I better with the past? What is the past to African perspective? Is it colonization? Is it indigenous lifestyle, culture, education? Or is the past apartheid in general as a South African? And my response would be that the past is indigenous. The past is the true African identity. And that is my true past. Because I was not born in the past of colonization, nor was I born in the past of indigenous knowledge. I was only born in pre-so-called democracy. But if I were to engage the past in a true sense, then the past starts from the colonization side. It should then start from the original identity of who I am. And that is the indigenous point of view as the true African. And who is an African in the true sense? Who is an African now? And who will be an African later? Am I bitter with the original African? I cannot be bitter with an original African. Because an original African is an African that grew up from the society that did not only believe in an educational basis that was just in a household form, but an African that grew up in a society where it was Ubuntu, Umuntu, Ngabantu, in an African identity where was a child grew or received an education from the society in its entirety. I grew up in a society where African identity never intended to oppress me, never intended to make me an obedient slave, never intended to deceive me. A true African identity had all positive faith in me. But then came to redefine us, to give us a new culture, a new identity, to actually disregard the education that we were given of Ubuntu, the education that we were granted to say a child is not just raised by a household, but by the society or the community as holistically. And of course, I'm bitter with the colonizers of the past who came to redefine me as an African child. Not only did they do it in the past, but they continue to do it in the present. They continue to redefine me through the education system that we have, or the miseducation system that we have. They continue to redefine me through the schooling system, the informal and the formal system that we have. They continue to redefine me through the injustices or the system. They continue to redefine me through the religious system. And so I cannot just turn a blind eye and pretend to be happy with the systems of the past that are ruling us in the present, under the very same African government that is supposed to free us from the colonization, but yet today are the vanguards of the colonization. Today we have the unrest, not just in South Africa, but in Africa at large, that is taking place, where you see young people called criminals, defined as looters. But who was the vanguard of the real looting? When we were supposed to take over democracy, when we were supposed to take over liberation, we had leaders who were so self-interested, so very greedy, that they only thought of what could go into their pockets over and above the liberation of Africans. And not only should we dwell in where we are now, but like the young lady is saying, and what your PA is saying there, is that in where we are today, we should also go as far as thinking into the future space and begin to refine what can entail the future of the Africans. And I always say, what can redefine the future of Africans is education as the fundamental liberator. Before you even attempt to nationalize mines, nationalize land, you must first nationalize, decolonize indigenous education. Because otherwise you'll reproduce politicians again, who will then attempt to nationalize land and steal from it and loot from it, who will attempt to nationalize banks like VBS and loot it, who will attempt to nationalize culture and lead culture. So again, to go to who are we now? Who have we been? Who are we going to be? Who is defining us now? Who is defining us? Who is running us? Who is attempting to redefine us? We need to refer to the mentality of Africans. And the conversation what we're having now is a very practical conversation where you have a generational mix. A young child who is actually an entrepreneur, but is actually fed from a home education more than the societal education, more than the media education that is actually feeding us with propaganda, misleading us to an extent that if you find Africans at home today, you will discover that Africans are so occupied with social media, they don't have time to have a conversation between the older generation and the younger generation, and to actually find means and ways to close the gap. Social media has occupied us to an extent that we do not even recognize the fact that propaganda is now the new way of who we are. 90%, if not more, of what we watch on media, on audio media, on visual media, is actually propaganda. It's a true sense of what is taking place in the spaces we are in. And I would actually invite you, Doctor, to come please land in South Africa. And you will see the gap between the township and the suburb. I was watching your conversation with Dr. Small
Yes.
when he defined that actually in South Africa, we still have Africans that live in one space. We have white that live in another space. We have Indians and the Chinese that live in a particular space and coloreds in another space. And that is a critical evaluation and introspection. Whether or not we are still fighting a racial issue, a class issue, or whether the two issues actually interject each other. They actually overlap over each other. And as we proceed with our thinking tool, I would want us to evaluate the three spaces of education and the four components of our societal space. And then we begin to go deeper as Africans, question ourselves whether or not we are finding solutions, regressing, or progressing.
That is a whole lot. And when we listen to you, NHOGO and NYASHA and Star, of course, we know that we have to hold this intergenerational conversation. I mean, like I said, I'm representing even the past or the present in the middle age, and then the younger one, and then the future sitting right here. Now, if you look, I don't know, all of you watch the conversation when Starmore came up for the first time to congratulate King Maponga Joshua. I wanted to be honest, just to take a little bit of retrospective of what we're talking about here. When Starmore came to wish King Maponga a birthday, I want to start with NYASHA. NYASHA, what feelings did you have when this princess was on the show? Be honest.
Can I be honest?
Yes, if you can.
I don't want to hurt Black Royalty's feeling, but I hope she understands this is nothing against you. Don't take it personally. But I feel very uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
because when she came in, and wishing Baba Maponga happy birthday, she took so much space. And you should take so much. She took so much space, and she just embraced herself the way she is, and she was so loud. And I was watching, and I said to myself, "That child is so arrogant." I don't even know why, but I had immediately response of disrespectful, not raised. We need to put it in the proper place. So, because I am on my own journey, I am working on myself because I have some programming on myself that I have encountered living in the system. So I had a conversation with Mama Tata about it, and I asked her opinion about it because I called to Mama Tata, Black Royalty, that princess is so amazing, but why did she make me feel so uncomfortable? She made me completely feel so uncomfortable. Absolutely. And everyone in the room too. I saw even, Brexit, even she was silent. Everyone was just silent. Just listening to you. Yes, but I think that as Black people growing up in this system, I talk about myself, we are trained to not take space, to be silenced, just do as you're told. So when you see another Black person, who comes in and take the space they want, it just shock you. She can do that. How can she do that? Because we are trained to be, in this position of servitude, of being silenced, to listen, to be in this, and so see another Black. I remember even that movie. Do you remember? Babarev Shock talk about when that man. I don't know the movie. That Black man was on the horse. Jungle. He was on the horse, and everyone just stopped and just look at that Black man on the horse because they've never saw it in their life. That's the way I was feeling. I just said, how can an 8-year-old, a girl child, behave like this in front of elders? That is, I hope I was not disrespectful. But please understand, Princess, this is not you, it is me. Don't take it personal. I don't want to change the way you are. No. Be the way you are. Go into extreme. Be more loud. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, exactly. I asked this strategically because that's the future. And she is actually representing what we Africans have never did. And that's why that shock came. It's not only from you. I had the feedback. I had to do a research on that because exactly that is where we had been. We have been in a space where we are in a servitude. We don't take space. We are not loud. We don't claim what belongs to us. We don't unapologetically go forward to claim what belongs to us. We sit and wait to be given a space at the table. We sit and wait for somebody to give us a voice. But what Starmore did on that day was a clear message to all of us Africans to wake up. Take your space, claim it, own it, be loud about it. No excuse for any feelings around you. I mean, the communities in which we're living on. Now, if I go back to NHOGO to ask you that same question, probably you didn't watch that or you were also on that show. Now, if you see the older generation, my generation, and when I was growing up, if I would say something like that in front of my elders, it would be a no-go. It will be, I am arrogant, I am disrespectful, I am not respectful today. How can she just come and she just like, now, isn't that the biggest mistake? That we, the older generation, not giving the space for our future, listen to them, nurture them, even engage them and tell them to do even much better? NHOGO?
To be honest, I was in that same situation at that age in primary school. When an elder told me that, look, my child, you're not that special.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If you think you're special, not in this space.
Oh my God.
When hence we need to, hence I always come back on educational space.
Yes.
Because we spend so much time in our systems or institutions where you are reassured at home by your mother that my child, you are special, my child, you are powerful, my child, you can do it. And you get into another space, which is a schooling institution or an educational institution, and you find an elder that says, look here, you're not that special. You don't can claim your confidence in this space. And when I watched her, I was like, oh my word, we still have people who have that kind of confidence. We still have mothers and fathers who still reassure us as young people that you have a future, you have a space in the society, you are good, you are amazing, and you can even implement it further. You can give much more education, impartation, anointing to other people. And when you go back home, you have two kind of parents. Where you get home and you say, Mom, my teacher said I'm not that special. And you have a parent that would say, my child, what did you do? And you have a parent that would say, what? How could the teacher say you are not that special? Because every human being in this space is special by kills. Is special by purple African identity. Every human being in this space has a role to play. And the society, after colonization, had to redefine us and relate us to say, you, my child, a woman, must just be married Well, farm instance, complete a matric, be married, produce children, buy a house, buy a car, and die. Even the religious space was deceiving us to say multiplication. When says multiply, they had to redefine that and say by multiplication mean produce. And that is not the true essence of multiplication. By multiplication, we are saying the Mabonga die themselves and not reproduce. The Lumumbas should not die and not reproduce. The Thomas Sankara should not die and not reproduce. The Nyerere should not die and not reproduce. The very same mindset. And we can go as far as your Sobukwes and your Steve Bikos. And so even religion came as a colonized point of view. It came and women. And that is why today the most problematic issue we have today is patriarchy. I think I got late. One of the speakers was speaking about patriarchy, where you need to view patriarchy versus feminism. And you cannot fight an oppressive system called patriarchy, a rule of man over woman, by introducing feminism, where you are saying a rule of woman over man. That's not the true sense of redefinition or reintroduction of our indigenous systems. Because in our indigenous African systems, where men were not ruling over men and women were not ruling over women. It was a just gender society where everyone was playing a relevant role in space. And to introduce feminism as an attack to patriarchy is not a solution in our societal space as Africans. To overthrow patriarchy, we don't need to reintroduce a rule of woman over man, but we need to restore and redefine African identity. To overthrow education, we don't need to introduce a new educational system that attacks the colonial system, but to restore and redefine education in the African space. We were never Africans. But who redefined us as Africans?
Who?
So we need to be in a space where we understand that the jealousy, the discomfort, the arrogance, the new definition of arrogance that we are redefining is not who we are. We used to celebrate the potential we see in a young person, in a child, as Africans.
Yes. Ashe.
Yes.
And in celebrating the anointing and that the child had, would come together as the community.
Yes.
To nurture it. Not to subject it, not to oppress it. But we also captured the terminological debate of arrogance and the terminological debate of who does she think she is, who does he think he is. We Africans, we have always carried civilization. Civilization was never introduced to us. Colonizers came and actually learned civilization from us. Now today they want us to argue what civilization means, what barbaric behavior means. We didn't know what barbaric behavior is. We were never barbaric as Africans. Never at any point. We were never looters as Africans. They came and they became the first looters. They came and became the first barbaricans. They first became and learned what civilization is to us. So they can't come and demand us to define arrogance. They can't come today and want us to define what looting is. They are the first looters in our society. In fact, if we go back to Joshua and we say to them, we are taking over, we don't need you as the East, as the West, as the North, they will understand that, in fact, the real looters, it's them, and we can survive without them.
That is it. That's the voice of the young generation and the future. So we need to start getting used to when we're talking about our mindset and education. If you look at Star, that is the future, taking space, redefining who she is in the face of a Black female girl. Look, if you would give Star more in another color that is not our own, she'll be on CNN and BBC everywhere, and Africans will be and saying, look at the first inventor of a hand sanitizer. They will be on, she would be on every cover magazine. She would be everywhere. So it is also that future.
And we'll welcome her even in Africa.
Yes. And she would come even as an ambassador for the United Nations Refugees for Children, isn't it? Wasn't in that color.
Of
yes.
course.
Yes. Thank you.
So, and I think also we have to change that philosophy of children should be seen and not heard. You know, that old word that I hear my parents used to tell us, like if guests we come, we have to go upstairs, say hello, and then just go upstairs. They should be seen but not heard. So then we have to also change the way we used to parent our children. We as the young people, we have influence that, and we can change that. It implements new value system. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Stamo, have you been so quiet?
I'm just listening, that's all.
Yes. So what did you, when you listen to your two elder sisters speak and they find your courage really impressive and encouraging, did you ever think for a second that if you stand to talk about your sanitizer and about your projects, that you felt a little bit like, oh, am I being too loud? Am I being too pompous? Am I being too, did you ever had any feeling like that?
No, but I do know that I'm a guest, so I will stay in my place and just talk when I'm supposed to, because this is an honor to be on the line with all of these, these beautiful guests. So no, I did not feel like that at any time. But yeah, so I didn't. Yes, just to answer your question.
We are learning from you. I can never be at your age again. I'm your grandma or your mom, you understand? So we want to get into your spirit, and that spirit should be the spirit when all the African children, like we say, I think 80% of China children, when we see all these products coming out and then they put it, we start like, oh, you see the Chinese, they're busy inventing and Africans are busy praying to up and looking at the skies and look and asking. Or we're the Humpty Dumpies that are stretching out to say, please give. So the African child, particularly a female, has always been the face of poverty, the face of diseases, the face of wars, the face of catastrophes, the face of children that are malnutrition. That we've never on Western media see a child like you that come up with a concept and an activity and bring out a project. So what is your secret? Mother and father must have been doing something behind that. Stamo, tell us. Don't play these things.
Yes, they have actually. And one of those secrets they have, been doing to groom me into the beautiful young lady that I am today would be homeschooling. They make sure that I always get, at least a good range to, I don't know, about 5 hours today. Just getting a good homeschooling lesson in, and she makes sure that it's fun because sometimes when a child is doing schoolwork, you don't want them to let them know that it's schoolwork, or automatically their brain will shut down and just not want to do it. But what she does is she makes it a game and it makes it fun. And sometimes I even ask for more. So that's one of the things that they do. So it's homeschooling, African centered homeschooling. And also it would be probably to have me my own freedom. They let me just be who I want to be. They let me eat what I want to eat. They let me wear what I want to wear. And some people might think that that's called spoilism, but I don't think so. I think it's called freedom, because sometimes you need to let your child have their own mind of things, and you are their adult, so you are the supervisor. So if they need discipline, they need discipline. But it's always good to let your child roam free and have a free mind of their own. And they have a different mind than you, so they're not always going to agree with you. But yes, I just want to make that clear, to let your child have freedom. So it's homeschooling, and they let me have my own freedom, and my mommy loves me dearly much. So there's a lot of love going on in this circle. So I think that would be about the three main things that molded me into the beautiful young lady that I am today. So to answer your question, yes.
Oh my
Man,
God.
me too. I want homeschooling.
I mean, we all want homeschooling. If homeschooling is gonna be full
So
of
I'm only
this love,
disadvantaged one. I was never homeschooled.
oh my God, can you imagine the kind of I mean, education combined with love and then space, and then you do what you want, but you sit down for
Woo!
5 hours.
Wow, that's true. Yes. It's
So
amazing result, I'll tell you that. Yes, yes.
Thank you so much, and thank you to your parents. And that's the connection that we see also in the parenting space of an African child, how we really do keep apart these external systems into infiltrating the spirit of our children, what defines them, and to mold them into the society that they are like that. Do we think that a modeling like this, we're talking about family, we're talking about the intergeneration, the giving forward to our children? Naisha, what do you think the connection and the way forward solutions? I want to give some things related on what Professor James Small asked me to ask you on the show today. What is your opinion about it? So are you going to speak only for the youth because you're the youth, or you are going to speak out louder against the injustices in the community, as Starmore is doing with her project, and say, no, I'm redefining the community? That's the first question. And the second question was, when you young people are talking, you should talk about Africa in general, and particularly your countries of origin, as that in terms of self-hate, proper education, the need for food, clothing, and shelter, and to speak out for your people and not just for the youth. So, what is your general opinion about that? I'm talking to the youth.
Sister Nongo first, or should I start? Okay, I'm speaking now. So
you can go first, I'll go after you.
I will do like princess now. Just speak. So, what I think is what I like on Princess Mother is that she understood how precious that. I think from the age until 0 until 7 is where children are very sensitive to their surrounding. It's called the download phase. It means children at this age are taking everything in. They are not selecting the information. It means when they see self-hate, they take it in. It means children at this age do not judge the information. Judging starts much later. That's why when children are abused until 0 until 7, that abuse is very hard and difficult to get rid of. So I find that very profound that the mother chose education, no, homeschooling, I'm sorry, because she understood that if I put my children in the public school, especially in this time of years, damage would be very difficult to remove later. Because until 0 to 7, our children are very sensitive, and this is where the most damage happens. And the most damage at this age are very hard to remove later in life. People even say it is not possible. So this is something that I think maybe we as Africans have to know. Because I know that of a brother, a doctor, he said to me, our children even outpass European children. But in a certain kind of age, it dwindles, it changes because of the like Sister Nongo said, of the school system, the system they go through. They somehow are college dropouts. They don't make it. They go on the street. But in the beginning, they were passing. They were the first one to write, first one to read. Now that's changing. And I like the example that Sister Nongo gave of a teacher telling her she is not special. That is something all Black children we in Europe go through. Emma, when I came in the class, she said to my mother, she can sit behind because, she's going to be a cleaner in Germany anyway. She can speak German anyway. This is what she told me. Don't focus on those children. So a lot of us as children, we go, as Black children, we go the system and we get abused in the system. And our parents do not understand how vulnerable, that time of the children is. And if I can speak to all Africans, is that I know we always divide children, adults, but I think at the end of the day, we are all one. If I have pain now. Like Nongo said, is time, present, and past. In African, this is one. I was not there when apartheid regime was happening, but I still feel the pain right now. So what we maybe have to take account is that what we are seeing and feeling, is important, and what we are seeing and feeling is something that we have to, understand and try to, take charge in. And so, if what I'm saying is that if we mess up our children on a very young age, they're going to also raise mess up children. And then we're going to have a generation of the same mistakes we are doing. So I think we have to start raising our children properly now so we can have better results later. Because the generation are the results of the generation before. We are just a result. So when we are complaining about our young people, we are complaining about ourselves because we are one. If you are failing, I as a mother am failing. So we have to, stop differentiate and see it as one. And this is what I found very profound on Black royalty. And I think I'm going to also, if I'm going to have children later, I'm going to homeschool them, also, because I'm seeing the results and I'm very happy with that. That is the results, I want to see in all of our children. To have no fear, to be self-confident and to say what they mean, and also to have boundaries and to not let other people, discourage them from what they are doing. And to take the space. Yes, our children should take space. That you are not small, you are large, and you are large. And I think we should raise our children to take space. You are not tiny, you are leaders. And yes, because we see the results of our children who go to the system. It's not well. That's all I wanted to say. I hope I answer your question in
You did not just answer the question, you were teaching. You're teaching us, and it is so profound, particularly in the diaspora. If we address this situation in the diaspora, Nongo, I know you will not disagree. It is the same scenario on the continent. We have to teach our children to take space. Today, when we look at Africa, and we're talking about the new challenge on the African continent is the Chinese. And because we never taught our children to
Yes.
take space, it is difficult that we keep talking about, oh, Chinese is doing this. We don't teach them to take space. So, and these teachings will not start when they get old. We have to teach them right now in their environment,
Yes.
to claim their space and to be loud and to own it. And so we know the future is certain. Nonga, over to you. You said nature comes after you. You're looking at this issue.
I completely agree. After you spoke after NYASHA, you are now bringing another point of discussion. Whether as Africans, do we think from an African perspective, which is the first component from the mind? From the African perspective that we think from, do we then look at which is the southern, by the way, do we then look at the northern African perspective? Look at the Western or Eastern African perspective, and then come to the Western African perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, you were actually asking about the social justices that are taking place in our society.
Mm-hmm.
And Nyasha also raised a very important point of homeschooling also, which then goes back in redefining education in its own space. Sorry, I keep on looking at my thinking tool. Which also goes back in redefining education in its own space. But when I began with my introduction, I said, we must first look at the spaces and the time, which is the past, the present, and the future.
Mm-hmm.
But for us to actually address the social justices, the political aspects of things, the religion, and the economy, then maybe we should introduce the 4 components that exist in the thinking tool,
Mm-hmm.
which is the politics, how
Mm-hmm.
politics affects education, whether it's education at home, whether it's education in formal education in schools, or it's societal education, still existing in the different space.
Mm-hmm.
How does social justice, which will be the second component, affect education or is affected by the education? How does religion affected by education? And how does economic freedom comes thereafter? That our young princess is actually addressing very well. But she wouldn't have addressed the economic never receive education as a fundamental liberator. Whether through home, community, or social education. And she would have never even been able to academic education if politics did not affect her, if society did not affect her, whether or not religion did not affect her. The space that we're sitting at as Africans, we are sitting in a space where even when political figures or political freedom took place, they did not bother to transform, to revolutionize, to decolonize education as politicians. So where we are as Africans, we are dealing with the decolonized, not just decolonized, but also politicized, unequal, non-free education. So the educational system or the miseducational system we're sitting with has so many problems that at a point where we thought we have achieved democracy, it was actually a mess from the beginning. Because if we are sitting with politicians who are refusing to depoliticize education, then we are saying, for example, in South Africa, we are sitting with a political party called ANC that has also captured education as a democratic party. Where's the logic in that? Because these are the same guys, same people, colonized politicians, putting colonized education, and furthermore politicizing it. Because they are saying, as politicians, vote for us as ANC. And over and above voting for us, we will give you a minister of education who is uneducated, miseducated, colonized educated, uncultured, misdefined, unmoral. And I can go on and on. Who will then try to give you education? And you make it worse. Not do you just leave it there, but we are saying in that education system, we will divide education in two aspects. There will be public education and there will be private education. Then we are saying the leader that you voted for is giving you a service that he or she cannot even entrust.
Yes.
So they are giving you a service that they cannot even look up to. They are saying, go to this education or schooling system that will never take my child to. Then they are governing public education, public schooling, or public education, yet they take their children to private schools. Where's logic in Europe?
In Europe, yeah.
They're saying use public hospitals, public medication, yet they're attending private hospitals and they are consuming private medication. Then there's a disorder in governance, in politics, as the first component of your thinking too. And how do you then move swiftly so from your political into your social justice? Because your politicians have given you this miseducation or the schooling system to the extent that now when you have to look at the social injustices, they cannot make sense because this one did not make sense. This education system, this political system has produced people who will then say, wow, we have access to free television, to free microwaves. Let's go and take them. I mean, we haven't had access to free land for a very long time. And then you want to call these people looters. You want the unjust system, the social unjust system, to give you a just result. Then this is the time when you remember Thomas Sankara. Just remember your Sobukwes. We are only rejecting the legal system because we cannot accept an unjust law to give a just result.
Absolute.
And because the education system and the policy made a conscious resolution to say, we want to make them dependent to us as the new politicians. Maybe I should give a disclaimer. I'm less angry to the colonizers than I am now to the democratic parties that are black ANC-led. I'm less angry to the white colonizers than I am to the black democratic leading parties that are saying to us, it's comfortable for them as young people to be dependent on them.
Yes.
They are saying keep as dependent so that they see us important. We're giving them grants, they are excited. We're giving them houses, they are excited. We give them misreligion, they're excited. We give them illusionary economical freedom, they're excited. Why do we have to depend on them? So that they remain in power. And by the time they die, we remain dependent to their true colonizers because they are only vanguards. And they know that they are vanguards. They are not true colonizers as Black Africans. They are vanguards, but because they have so much interest in their personal pocket, they need their personal shares. They only had to protect that which they had, and they only had to protect for their own families. And if you give, this is what they would declare, you give Africans true education, they would know what true liberation is. They will know what true indigenous lifestyle is. And right now, we need that. That's what they are saying. And so we cannot have social justice because of the politicians who have sacrificed us at the time they had an opportunity to take over to liberation and take over and revolutionize education. Because you can't speak about nationalization of land when you haven't spoken about nationalization of education. Then you will have politicians who will give land to their cronies, to their kids, who will then exploit land for their greediness. And they will not even consider Africans at large. If you speak about nationalization of law, then you will have politicians who will only justify justice for their own personal sake. If you speak about nationalization of banks before nationalization of education, then you will only be advocating for politicians who will then protect banks at colonization level or even loot banks like VBS that are Black owned. So you can never even speak about nationalization of anything if you haven't started speaking about nationalization of education. When you still have public and private sector of education, when education should be one for an African interest. So we move from that social injustices where you don't only keep them dependent on you for grants and any other thing, but even for drug and alcohol abuse. Politicians in South Africa will tell you that today, as I speak from a South African perspective where I'm sitting, we have a door-to-door inspection that the police guys are doing to recover the televisions and the microwaves that have from the shops. So if you have that ability, why didn't you do a door-to-door to discover drug abuse, drug looters, drug sellers in Africa? Why did you do a door-to-door to overcome poverty in Africa? Why did you not do a door-to-door to actually identify the true looters that are actually sitting with our minerals in their own spaces, in their own spaces, in their own, what do they call this thing, where they have the security keys? Why did you not do that? So don't come and deceive us and tell us that you are doing door-to-door to recover televisions from the real colonizers and the real looters who actually looted television from us. So when we speak of politics, social justice, then you go to the component of religion and you question, is religion then addressing the social ills that we are facing. Religion, the true spirituality of African identity. And if we cannot answer the three components of politics, social justice, religion, then you can't tell me you want to discuss economic freedom. Because from the very first component, you not produce an economical free African. If we did not have parents of the princess who took it upon herself, give a home language before a societal, before a schooling education, who did not give a home education before a societal education, then an African education, or then we couldn't have had this princess. Because even now, in our African space, in Africa, the homeschooling is competing with the schooling system and institution over and above the societal education. And I envy you when you say you have successfully seen how education, schooling is working in our society. But is home education an African identity? Or is societal education, it takes a village to raise an African child, an African identity? So we need to go back and introspect ourselves as Africans. We need to go back and introspect ourselves as Africans. Because then we are ready to define the three spaces that says home education in our African space to us as Africans and the true meaning of it. Because I am humble enough to accept that we are speaking from a perspective of Germany and America. But in the African space where we're sitting at, we have channels like Mzansi Magic. We have channels like, I forgot this channel, where media is only producing that which Africans should be instead of what Africans are. And when we get to an African home right now, find NHOGO solo on her laptop. You find my sibling on her phone. My mom is tired from the colonial work. No one has time to home indigenously educate each other. And if that is the case, if we were to rely on a schooling system where we spend most of our time, what is this schooling system educating us? Pre-colonial systems, before they came, our indigenous education was not only giving us just education in a schooling form, but tradition was involved, culture was involved, social, artistic, spiritual, recreational, skill education was involved. If you look at the education we're receiving now, my friends, the only time you get to write a business plan is when you leave the schooling system. Because the schooling system did not have an interest in you writing a business plan. The schooling system did not even have interest in you starting a business. The colonizers had no interest, and I want us to accept it as Africans. They have no interest in making us mentally liberated to critically think of African solutions, to critically think of African identity and how African business, for heaven's sake, do you have an African now that can start a mining business from scratch to an end? Chrome, diamond, wool. I can mention all of them. And hence I said from the beginning, we can just say, we don't care, we don't need them. We are for an African interest, and anyone takes us as Africans. But until as Africans, we invest in our education system and say, if I'm in South Africa and you're in America and you're in Germany and we want to combine our ideas, how do we put our resources together? Because I promise you, they will think you are joking if you want to transform education, and they will leave you. When you start early childhood education and you teach an African child that this is our African identity, this is our African culture, this is agriculture, this is our everything. They're still joking. But if you miss the order and want to shout about land out of the space, then they target you. So if we recombine and say, let's come back together as Africans and come with real solutions. The young princess here has given a start. But let's be honest, when and where did she get the courage? She had to be educated at home. And it comes to a point where I like the fact that we raise the issue of homeschooling. Then if we go back to African identity of homeschooling and communal education and village education, maybe we'll go back to Mapo's argument. He argues about the structures of churches, if they're still relevant. And then I argue about the structures of schools, if they are still relevant. Because that's his argument. You build a church for $1 million and you could have built a factory. And I argue from my own perspective also that we build schools, even private schools, for millions. And we could have built incubation centers. Not all of us can transform and revolutionize one aspect at the same time. If Mapoma is arguing the decolonization of religion, and I'm arguing the decolonization of education, and maybe you speak about the decolonization of economy and business, and the next person is decolonizing, and Dr. Susan, for example, is decolonizing media, then we are all relevant as Africans to each other, and let's continuously empower each other and wake up every morning sharpening that mind. And at the time we meet probably Dr. Susan in Germany next year, we completely revolutionized Africa.
Ashe.
Ooh. Wow. I am always speechless, particularly when I listen to the young generation speak. I saw my brother in the chat saying, if we were doing blah, blah, blah here, you would have seen 10K viewers. But because it is the young generation, that's how disrespectful we, the older generation, are not to even listen. And we miss always this point because exactly that's what we're talking about. Keep lying to ourselves that we want to build a younger generation. We want to build the future. Oh, we are working for the future. No, we're working for our own personal interest. And so when I say I want to build the future, then I would dictate it to my young generation. You have to wait until I'm a president and I die. Even you will not even get it if you don't belong to my family clan. That's how deep we're talking about. And if we, this generation that I represent, still think like that, not to give an ear to the generation of NHOGO and NYASHA, and you see the generation of NHOGO look into the generation of Star Moore, then we are not intergenerational. We're just talking around the corners, but we're disrespecting every step from the elder to the young to the future. And I think this is very, very important. I want to give a shout out and I want to thank Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, who is celebrating his 60th or 59 plus birthday today. And we have been pushing up that agenda and say, happy, happy, happy birthday to you, Professor. And honestly, like the tradition on the Pan African Daily TV, we're going to give him a standing ovation tribute when he's available. Well, we reached out to him this morning. He's in the diaspora on his mission that we all know. But he said one thing: go on with the work. And the work is giving the voice to the young generation. I want to sit and listen to the young generation that you're bringing to the on the platform, and he is watching us right now. So I want to thank all of us that are watching and are listening and paying attention to this special edition where we just sit and listen to the present generation and the future, and we learn also from our own past, so that we can begin to build really the Africa that is united from the generations, not the elders that stay in power and stick there and die and put even their own on the throne and never give power because they never had started it from the home. We are too dictatorial in our approach to our children. So if you don't even listen, how do you even think you have a good intention to give over? That's why they never give over power, not only in the political space. We will grow old and die. Dr. Susan will grow old and die on the Pan-African Daily TV and will never give that space to NYASHA and NHOGO, who should give the space to Star More. That is wrong. And we must start changing it now. Listen to the young generation. And I'm happy that we're starting this program on the Pan-African Daily. NYASHA and NHOGO and Star More, they're going to have their own space on the Pan-African Daily where they host their own generations. And Star More with her teaching programs for kids, teach kids. All this, we have to do it practically. And that's the Pan-Africanism. And that's the real Africa that we want to build. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank your support and all the birthday celebrations. And especially, I'm going back to studio to just give us the last round of voices here. And I want to go back to the young star, the future, Star More. Star More. Are you there or you're tired? I think she was kicked out. I'm so sorry about that. She was kicked out. So yes. All right. Star More was kicked out. Okay. But we already had everything that we should be having from her. NHOGO, thank you so much. Oh, she's there. Hey.
Yes, I'm there. Hey.
Hello. I mean, we were already thinking, where's she to make us laugh? Where's she to just empower us and give us the spirit? Now, you've been listening to your elder sisters. You've listened to me as a mother or grandmother. And now, what do you think your generation would be doing? What do you look for if we implement all the strategies?
Well, I definitely hope that my young generation can continue to, just prosper and be the best that they can be, and just make sure that they, no matter what anyone says, that they will always be themselves and stick true to themselves and always believe in themselves. And there's always more than one way to do something. That's also very important. So I just want to make sure that my generation is very smart, is very wise, and very bright. And I hope that everyone can just live a happy life in my generation. And I hope everyone can get along, and there'll be no such thing as jealousy or anything or hatred or anything of that matter, and just positive vibes only. So that will be some wishes that I have towards my generation. Yes.
Oh my God. I don't know. I'm just. The change is here. When we would place the first order and it should be delivered to us. But I know that you are going to be that entrepreneur when we meet on the global Pan-African Festival for Culture and Unification in Germany next year, 2022. Now, a lot of people have been getting back to us and like, why Germany? Why not the continent? I want to make this very clear. We are working on this project and taking into consideration all this. We're looking at our elders in the diaspora, and we're looking at the situation on the continent in terms of logistics, in terms of security, in terms of health, in terms of seasons. And it is more easier from what we gather from the survey that we're doing to meet in Europe. That's number one. Number two is because also Europe is the middle point, particularly Germany is the middle point between Africa and the US, or the continent is the middle point and is the closest continent to Africa. Can you imagine that it's 15 kilometers from Europe to Africa? Nobody ever thought about that, isn't it? And that was why the reason of the Berlin Conference made it so possible to penetrate and to petition Africa, because it was just a neighbor. And so we have to meet back in Germany, being the middle point of the continent. And like I said, the first criteria is we want to get all our elders in the on the continent and the diaspora to meet in this center point where this evil of partition started. So it is going to be a point where we are addressing particularly the situations that we are talking about at the table, also where we are talking in terms of culture and spirituality and education and everything, and the evils that have been planted up to this generation. But of course, we are going forward. We are not saying that we are only dwelling on our past when we meet. No, we are addressing the past, but we are already in the future. You see already what Starmo is telling you, what his generation or her generation is going to be like. Self-confident, self-love, smart, so smart. Even as the parents will be catching after them. So it's not going to be a generation that they have to look onto us. We have to look forward to this generation and give them every necessary tools. We're talking first in terms of love, nurturing, protection, giving them their space. Make sure we fight for them to have that space, and we defend it with every authority. I think that would have been a better start for us next year. So Starmo is going to be there with her hand sanitizers. You know, NHOGO in investigation is going to be there with her projects. Of course, NYASHA is right down here. And we're also working with the professors out there. We wish to really get Dr. Nichols, who is an alma mater of the city where we're going to host, the university that he studied there, even during the Nazi area. So we're going to dislocate all these things right on the spot. So we're going to see even the Berlin Wall, going to take a tour there, because sometimes we only hear. And we see how even the disunification physically took place. So what about our own geographical illusions that they created in our mind? And I think that will heal us even much further. So I want to thank all of us. And if we think that is a good thing, please make sure that we share this extensively. We subscribe. And we're going to, like NYASHA said, NYASHA, what are you doing on TikTok with all this?
Yes. Yes, I thought of Princess, and I think we have to get bold. We have to, work harder. So I want to thank Princess for, teaching me on, we can't be lazy. We have to be on every platform. We have to, get the word out. That's why, I opened a Pan-African TV, TikTok, and of course, a Pan-African TV Pinterest. And next is coming the Pan-African TV Tumblr. So this should be done by tomorrow. So I wish all of you can just come and click the like button and visit us on Tumblr, Pinterest, and of course on TikTok. I also wanted to say something about NHOGO, beautiful, what she said about education. And what I found profound or painful is it is so basic. If the basics we're building on was rotten, everything upon that is rotten. But it is amazing that we've been so abused that we can't even think logically. It is interesting that things that make sense, like she's talking about the social system, that it is impossible. I mean, we cannot build a social system. It is so amazing that how blind we have become, and how people with PhDs who think who really have educated, can hang on to that system and talk about democratic. I just find it very interesting that we lack the basic systems. Things are just universal laws. We don't get them. I just find it very interesting. And I think we have a long way to go.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thumb ups to you. And Nango, do you think that if we actually start putting and implementing these structures, like you said, if there's one person that is delocating and networking and connecting the others, we have a long way? Or you think if we start and get to work now, every generation practicing exactly just that, we might get there easier? Is she connected, Nango?
I think, Doctor, the last time I was on the interview, I gave an analogy about the definition of politics from the MELKON of Mziliga as well, Africa. And I think we are at this point where it's an implementation stage.
Mm-hmm.
We have the young person who's already doing it now. We have you as an elder. We have our generation. We are already interconnected. We just need to implement things.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just turn a blind eye from what NYASHA is raising now. The PhD students who are writing books, who are writing theses about the systems we have. And I've always argued that we can't just be in these institutions to only reproduce what the colonizers have been producing. You can't be a lawyer and celebrate a Dutch Roman law system. You can't be a doctor, PhD doctor, and celebrate pharmaceutical industry. We cannot deny that we have colors in our African culture, African identity, African diaspora, African identity. We already have them. We just need to close the gap and be serious, really serious about taking over. And by the way, Doctor, if I have to confess on this channel, this is the platform that I have a listener from your own channel, whom after listening to the presentation we had on interview we had about the agricultural programs that we had, actually invested in the program.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
This is the investor all the way from UK.
Yes.
Investing money into South Africa. And that is a practical thing we as Africans have to do. And that is what the Pan-African Daily TV is already doing. We're already in it. There's no turning back. There's no time to be scared now. I remember one of the citizens I met in South Africa said, "But no, you only young." And he said to me, "If you don't protect yourself enough, you will die before the realization of your vision." And those are as much as I appreciate the advice, but those are the articulation that only make us more fearful. And to be what are we waiting for? Are we waiting for our resources to be more looted, more exploited, for our resources to run out? Are we waiting for Dr. Susan? Are we waiting for Prof. Lumumba? Are we waiting for Bishop Mabonga to die? What are we waiting for? The intergenerational mix is here. Resources are here. Consciousness is here. There's no time to wait. The earth is eagerly waiting. And again, as I started before, the Humpty Dumpty who fall from the wall and got broken, the kings and the queens and the king's horses came together, could not put him back together again. until we as Africans do it.
We'll do
Yes.
another. Wow.
I say.
Ashe. Ashe. Now, I want us to take, before we close this session, I know we're 1 minute into it. Let us just look at a surprise from Starmore to us. Let's just take it's just a second, and you look at this, and you can know the future is right here.
So today I'm going to tell you about my all-natural and organic hand sanitizer product. And the best part about my sanitizer is that it's filled with all natural and organic goodies, such as organic lemons, grapeseed oil, and most importantly, tea tree oil. Yes, tea tree oil. I know it's so great. And now, this is the part where you come in, because I have a little question for you. Have you ever seen Shark Tank? Well, I'm sure you have. And if you hasn't, it's basically about a show about a bunch of people investing in a bunch of other people. So, I have a question for you. Would you like to make my product even better and invest into this great product? If so, you can just shoot me a text or email me, and it'll be such a great investment. Because remember, when you're investing in me and you invest in the best, you're investing into the future. Bye! Enjoy your day, and remember, stay clean. Thank you. That was so great. Thank you so much, Dr. Susan Tata.
Oh,
Thank
can
you.
I book
Oh
you
my
too?
God.
My princess, can I book you too?
Nongo, you hear that, Nesha? Remember, if you invest in me, you're investing in the future. Dear Africans, dear Pan African followers, dear Africans worldwide, you are now in the future. The future is right here. Starmore is right here. Stop talking about Africa is the future. And Africans are dreaming of something that is now. Now is the Africa, the Alkebulan, not the future. It is already here. You see it. You feel it. You smell it. They're going to be the best industrials. They're going to recreate. They're going to invent. They're going to innovate. They're going to build factories upon factories. She's 8 years old. So give her 10 years, she's going to be 18. And calculate your own ages, all of you that are watching now, to say in just 10 years, Starmore is going to be 18 and Africa is already gone. So we are now never the future. It is the present. I am the past. Nature is the present. The future is already with us. Okay. So I want to thank you so much, and all of you. Yes, Africa is now, is not the future. So we see ourselves. I want to give one round of thanks and congratulations to all of you. I start with, I already get it to Star, but she is still going to say it again. So Nango, are you starting a last round?
Pardon?
The last word of thanks before we leave. All of us, one word, 1 minute, 1 second.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree with you, Doctor. The future is here. We appreciate that we still watchers of the future, leaving us with the present, with the things for the past. It is time now. We can never postpone it. We cannot postpone it. It's time now to change Africa. It's time now to transform. It's time now to revolutionize. It's time now to take over. No, for the West as the sun.
I think she's been cutting off. Okay, Naisha, because I think, yeah.
I just want to thank Sister NHOGO and, of course, my younger sister, Princess. I was so honored and privileged to be on the show with both of you. And it will be an honor to be again on the show with you. Of course, I want to thank my boss, Dr. Susan Tata, CEO of the Pan-African Daily TV. It's an honor working for you, and an honor your discipline and your vision to better us as Africans. That I respect that very highly of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, Stamo, your last word for us as also elders, and then for
Yes.
all of us.
Yes, okay. So I just like to say thank you, thank you, thank you, sincerely from the bottom of my heart to everybody out there who took the time out to listen to, the younger generation, and to Miss Nanga and Miss Naisha and Dr. Susan Tata. I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And also to some people who may just be jumping on and might have catched it a little bit late. My info is loopersloafers.com. That's my website. And my Cash App is $child homeschool number 8. Yes, everything is spelled regularly, no zip, no, none of that type of stuff. And I just want to say thank you once again for this opportunity, Dr. Susan Tata. Thank you very much. It'd be greatly honored and appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you for all the listeners. I mean, we're gonna put her Cash App aid, her link to her homepage. Everything is gonna be available on the Pan African Daily TV. As from tomorrow, NYASHA is going to work that out for us. And I want to thank all of you that have been here. And like I say, we are wishing Professor P.L.O. Lumumba a happy birthday today, the 17th of July. And we would be doing the normal tradition on the Pan-African Daily TV to celebrate him for his engagement while he is still with us. So prepare your video messages, prepare your thanks, prepare your tributes and everything. And on that same date, when he will give us the appointment, we'll put out every information to you. So thank you so very much. We are going to see ourselves again on Thursday, if nothing happens, but we are daily live here on the Pan-African Daily TV with news, information, and even live conversations that we're going to be reproducing for you as from today to tomorrow and till Thursday. But live, we're gonna start it again on Thursday, and we have a very prominent guest in the diaspora that also was referred to us by Professor James Small. Is a colleague of him, an elder also that we would like to listen to. He's called Dr. Professor Kweku. Kweku is a native-born African-American, but has changed his name and everything. And I think also comes from the background as a reverend, but that was revolutionized in the Afrocentric culture. So he's going to be live with us on Thursday for the first time. He has the same power and the same spirit like Dr. J, Dr. Wade Nobles, Dr. Nichols, Dr. Professor James Small, Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, Dr. Arikana. All of them just have the same that spirit. So, but we're going to have another new prof that is also going to join our series to give back to the younger generation and the future. So I thank you so much. I wish you a happy weekend and a happy week. We're going to continuously stay on our focus and stay healthy. Bye-bye for now. We see us again very, very soon. Bye.
Bye.
Yes, bye.
Thank you.